Hey, what's up guys? We're back again with the 5 best players in the world's favorite decks. At the end of the season, to solidify their ranking as the best players in the world, they use these decks. Consistently beating other pro players is never easy, but mastering these decks made it happen. Let's break down each of the decks and see why they're so strong. Subscribe to the channel to stay connected for all the daily videos. A whole lot of love to everyone that's using creator code SirTag to make the high effort videos possible. The 5th best player in the world used this P.E.K.K.A. Balloon Freeze deck to pulverize other pro players. Hey, we got a game against another Sir. Let's get it. You guys know the deal with Anaban's deck. It is one of the best decks in the game in the later stages. But in single elixir, you can't string together enough elixir to afford any of your pushes. Waiting for a lumberjack balloon and a freeze, that's going to cost more than your entire elixir bank. So it's going to be hard for you to afford that until you get the double elixir to be able to build up big pushes. It's going to go for a barbarian barrel here and see what he's up to. And he's going to have an electric spear with a fast cycle deck. So generally in this type of matchup, you would want to wait until double elixir and not cycle anything and just play responsive to whatever your opponent drops. So let's say he goes in for the knight in the back. We're just going to slow roll an ice wizard because it barely costs that much elixir. And then he goes in for a fireball. So he had casted a knight and a fireball. That's 7 elixir. Essentially a free P.E.K.K.A. for me. And I'll take that. You know, we're going to slow roll a P.E.K.K.A., crush your knight, and then be able to go in for a balloon because your building isn't going to be able to pull our balloon. The great thing about P.E.K.K.A. is oftentimes it will bait out a building. And if a building is dropped in the middle of the map to pull the P.E.K.K.A. as far as possible, you can drop your balloon off to the side and it's going to bypass the building. That's one of the reasons why this deck is going to be very successful, and it's pretty fun to play if you can get away with the freeze like that as well. Notice how I was able to tornado his units closer to the Tesla, so that I was able to freeze everything at once. Unfortunately, he was able to cycle back to another Tesla. It's looking like it's going to be an Expo deck, but I'm completely okay with that. Sometimes that will happen, and in the later stages of the game, all you need is one good juicy balloon freeze connection, and then you'll work wonders on their towers. So I can go for the baby dragon in the back, and you guys already know the deal. If you cycle a high elixir lumberjack or high elixir P.E.K.K.A. and then they expo on the other side, that could be a problem. But the baby dragon is going to force out a lot of extra elixir. Whereas the lumberjack, it would just get kited by skeletons, maybe crushed by, you know, a log, and not feel too good here. We're going to go for an ice wizard. If he decides to fireball that, that's completely okay. Kind of expect him to do that. And then we can go in for another barbarian barrel to swipe down those archers and give us some extra damage on the tower. So, as I said before with this deck, generally a lot better in double, and we finally reached our goal. We strive to survive, and then we dominate in double. So I'm going to eat a bit of damage here because it's going to be hard for me to be able to kill the skeletons and keep the lumberjack alive. So I'm going to drop my lumberjack down afterward, and then I'm going to go in for my balloon because I can guarantee that the lumberjack is going to be able to kill the expo, and then it's going to rage up the rest of our stuff. So because I've got dual lane pressure here, he's feeling very, like, I don't know, awkward about his situation. He has to fireball, and then he's not able to hit the P.E.K.K.A. And then the balloon's guaranteed to hit on the tower. And then he goes archers, but then the archers walk into the bomb of the balloon. And then he has to deal with the baby dragon on the other side. So sometimes when your opponent's got a lot of spells, it's not ideal for you to go and stack up too many things in the same side. And that's one of the reasons why we're in a good spot. Despite being down damage right now, I am up an absurd amount of elixir. I was at 10 elixir while having a P.E.K.K.A. on the field. That is essentially a 17 elixir board that I have right now. And I can go in for a freeze on top of the archers here if I so choose. I think I'm going to go and do that immediately because, oh wow, he was able to get back to another Tesla. I thought he wouldn't be able to. That was very nice placement on his end. So this guy's a good player. Credit where credit is due. Not every Expo player knows all those precise placements, always cycles back to the right things. Like, this guy is definitely in a league of his own. He's coming! So we're going to be able to go in for another balloon here because the P.E.K.K.A. is going to be able to tank for everything. This time, I think I want to go in for a dual lane pressure again. So I'm going to go in for the tornado just to guarantee that we can kill those archers and put them in a vicinity that I won't have to worry about. And then I'm going to go in for the balloon off to this side so that it can bypass any building. So he's probably going to go in for a Tesla, so I want to go for a barbarian barrel here as well on top of the Tesla and predict it. And I do make that juicy prediction. Now, with that Tesla out of the way because of our prediction, we can go for a freeze. He has the fireball, but it doesn't kill. And I'm pretty sure that the balloon is going to give us at least 2 to 3 shots. If it gives us 3, that will be a win. It doesn't happen. So even with my prediction, it wasn't enough right there, but it was pretty important to make that. As you start to escalate into triple elixir, that is the death zone for every player that plays against this deck. Because you can consistently whip out more lumberjacks, more balloons, and more memes than people are ready for. So I'm going to go for another lumberjack here. I think I can follow up with a baby dragon in the middle because he's probably going for a Tesla again. I don't want that to get fireballed. This time I'm just going to go for a freeze on top of the archers for some more damage. And then I think I can tornado here as well, so then the baby dragon can splash onto all the archers, hopefully. If not, they're going to get decimated by the bomb. Yo, that's quite good for us. That is very nice. always drop your unit in the middle here because it should take the targeting from the Expo. So then even though like the Expo and the Tesla would be able to shred the P.E.K.K.A, it's going to be a bit harder for him to do that now. We're going to go in for a baby dragon here, then we're going to go in for a barbarian barrel, and I think I'm going to have to freeze just so the lumberjack does not die. If the lumberjack dies, I'm going to cry. So we need to go in for a ice wizard here, and then with the baby dragon raged up, I think we're barely going to win this. I mean, this is a very close game. He doesn't have rocket, remember, he's got fireball, so he won't be able to break through and do enough damage. Very good Expo player, and there's going to be a ton of Expos in the new meta. So if you guys hate playing against Expo, this deck will still stay strong because you've got Barb Barrel and multiple tanks with a Lumberjack and the P.E.K.K.A. And if things get spicy and dicey, you can always freeze the game with the freeze and stop all the damage. As you can see, if you can safely get to double or triple elixir with this deck, you're going to dominate. Riley used the best log bait deck in Clash Royale to finish number 4 in the world. To get into the next one with Riley's deck, this is the deck that he loves. He plays this every single meta, all the time, and it's very strong. So if you guys don't have Mighty Miner, highly encourage you to run an Inferno Tower instead of the cannon, because you would still get the Inferno ramp up effect of the Mighty Miner, but in the form of a building, and then you would run Valkyrie or Knight instead of the Mighty Miner. So again, Inferno Tower instead of cannon, and Valkyrie or Knight instead of the Mighty Miner if you do not have a champion. And you have to make both of those changes if you don't have the Mighty Miner. So this guy is going to be running GoldenEye. I don't know what this deck is, but I'm pretty excited to find out. Definitely, I mean, it's definitely going to be like some sort of beatdown, right? Like it's going to be either an Electro Giant deck or a Golem deck or something of the sort. So we want to make sure that we drop our Goblin Barrel in that particular placement because it's going to be harder for him to activate King Tower. That was an interesting tornado placement on his end. Not going to lie. I don't know if this guy is going to be as intelligent as our Expo player that we played in the last game because that Expo player was so good. It's going to be hard for every one of our players that we're going to be playing against to be that good. So we're going to go and drop that. We're going to make sure that we can decimate the Zappies. Oh, wait. What? Zappies. I mean, is this what I thought it was? Is this not going to be an Electro Giant deck? I don't know. He's definitely going to click the ability, so I want to go in for the Mighty Miner here just so we can soak up the damage for our princess and not have her die. Maybe I can go in for a Goblin Barrel off to the right-hand side again and then constantly apply aggression on both sides. The thing about this deck that makes it strong is forcing out elixir that your opponent doesn't want to spend because all of your cards are cheap and they might not have a cost-effective response to your cheap cards. So like he's going to be dropping 5 elixir right there. He literally went in for a tornado and also a zap. Now he might not have a small spell for the goblins and we're going to get a lot of damage as the process just continues to drag on. As you guys can see, we know how much elixir he has because he overspent and got a very inefficient trade, and then we immediately punished him, keeping both of our elixirs low, because if we have 5 elixir and he has 0, he obviously isn't going to be able to allocate a proper response to us. Also, notice this cannon. It's literally already killed a GoldenEye. It's probably going to be able to kill a mini P.E.K.K.A. Do I want to spend any extra elixir? No. Just cost-efficient trades like that is the secret to success when you're playing a deck that has a quick card cycle. Because if you think about it, if he just doesn't have that much elixir, even though my cards are flimsy and weak and cheap, they just make sure that I get better trades. And that's all that matters. It doesn't mean anything if you've got all these high-cost cards if you're never able to afford them, right? So that's the thing. Like, his cards are probably stronger than mine. Like, the Golem is quite good. The Golden Knight is an amazing card. But if he's never able to drop them and we're able to get like 2 to 3 princesses on the map at all points in time, it's going to be a crime. This guy can't stop it. He's going to go for the Golden Knight ability, and this was one of the easiest games I've ever played. So if you guys want to play log bait, make sure that you maximize your efficiency by knowing what trades you can take, and then you'll just climb up ranks incredibly well. The secret to success with cycle decks is knowing all the small interactions to extract maximum positive elixir trades from your cards. So when you're dropping a lot of cards quick and your opponent's getting negative elixir trades, they can never keep up. Ian finished number 1 in the world before with this Hog Rider deck, but this season he finished number 3. So this is by far the best Hog Rider deck in the game. If you don't have Archer Queen, you can run Musketeer instead, and you can stack up a lot of Musketeers and get very good value against people that are running Balloon decks or Lava Hound Balloon decks. In every other situation, Archer Queen is preferred, but Musketeer works if you don't have Archer Queen leveled up. This guy is going to be running a Sparky Musketeer deck. I am ready for the sauce. So it's pretty important for us to just let our Musketeer counter go and just log here. And then probably want to Earthquake here, click the Archer Queen ability so we can shred the Sparky and feel fantastic about ourselves. If you guys didn't know that, if you drop your Archer Queen ability, right as the Sparky is about... Ooh, that rage. Wow, you really wanted to ruin my commentary, man. You're a savage. And you give me the tea. And you give me the thanks. I love it. Well, it's probably thanks because I said well played. It wasn't actually BM. But that might have been BM. I don't know. Now he's actually BMing me. He's laughing at me. Oh, no. And he's saying good luck. I hope you come back, Jake. Well, anyway, what I was saying earlier is the Archer Queen is able to fully disintegrate the Sparky if you time it correctly and you drop the ability right as the Sparky's about to shoot you. Very nice to do because it's only one elixir and you keep your Archer Queen alive and you thrive. So we will show you guys how to dominate the dirty Sparky BMers with this super good control Hog Rider deck. So this will get out of control for our homie quite soon. I fully expect him to go in for like a skeleton army or something along the lines. So we want to go in for a log here. If he decides not to do that, that's completely okay as well. And we can go in for a cannon to go and pull the giant as much as we possibly can. Then I'm going to go in for skeletons here so we can fully stop all the skeletons. And then we can go in for like a giant skeleton here. And then we can go in for an ice spirit. And then we can make sure that we maximize our value, resetting the Sparky and making sure it doesn't get a second shot.
0 deaths.
So we know he's going to have mini pack on cycle because he just dropped a skeleton army. So he's going to mini pack on top of the giant skeleton, and then he won't have that in cycle. So he'll only have minion horde right now, which will not be a feasible or reliable response to this Hog Rider. So we're going to be able to pull back the mini pack. It won't get a hit. He's going to go for minion horde. He's going to take damage from this Hog Rider, and we will find our way back into the game. I'm telling you guys right now, it might seem like I'm down, but I am definitely not out. This deck dominates when it's played well. So I'm ready for it. I'm here for it, my dudes. I can go in for a giant skeleton here as well just to force out more elixir and just be extremely aggressive and be annoying for him. And then he's probably going to go in for a mini P.E.K.K.A, so I want to go for an ice spirit here. If he decides to do anything else, then it's okay. The Archer Queen locks onto the tower, so he might have messed up. Looks like he did an oopsie. Oh, he gave us the good game. Does he think he's going to win? I'm really confused on what he thinks right now because I don't know if he thinks he's won or if he thinks he's lost. Anyway, he might get lost in the sauce if we can get that giant skeleton to explode. I'm going to let the Archer Queen take the damage from the Sparky just because I didn't want the Sparky to lock onto my tower. So if you guys notice, I didn't click my Archer Queen ability there. Okay, so I'm going to click my Archer Queen ability on the left-hand side. I want to be able to just shut down the skeleton army and get a good trade. I'm not going to Earthquake because I'm not going to get over ahead of myself. I just want to make sure that I have enough to stop this. So I'm going to go in for skeletons. He might rage up the Sparky, which is totally fine. It's kind of what we expect right now. We're going to go in for an Ice Spirit afterward. We're going to have everything tanking. Then we can go in for a Archer Queen ability if we need to, but I don't think we do. Should be fine. We can get skeletons down here. We can go in for an Ice Spirit. And then... Ooh, this is actually looking really dicey. I think the Archer Queen locks on the tower and wins us the game with the Hog Rider tanking. What is this game? What has happened here? How did we win this? And how did this guy get so confident in himself that he was going to win when he was just up a little bit? Well, as you guys can see, it's the best Hog Rider deck in the game for a reason. Even if you're down, you can always bounce back. And it's super satisfying playing a safe deck so you can crush all the annoying toxic decks. All the pros in Clash Royale loved playing this deck, and Pedro played it to finish number 2 in the world. On to the next one. This deck finished number 2 in the world for good reason. It's probably one of the most safe decks in the game, and it's just super good no matter what type of cards you've got with it. If the miner locks onto the tower and you have solid defense, your opponent can't stop you. So if you don't have Archer Queen, run Musketeer instead. It works phenomenally. If you don't want to run Valkyrie, you can run a Knight instead. You can also run Mighty Miner if you have that leveled up and you don't want to run Archer Queen. Mighty Miner plus Musketeer is also a very good card combination. If he goes in for poison, he has to log the Archer Queen to kill it. So I'm going to make sure that he has to and go in for the ability just to force out some extra elixir. And then we can go in for a Miner here on the left-hand side. Also, if you don't want to run Goblins, you can run skeletons like, you know, the number 2 player, but I personally prefer goblins. I just think they do slightly more damage and they're a better graveyard answer. Because you've got poison, I guess you don't necessarily need to have another great graveyard answer, but if you're running fireball in this deck instead of poison, you definitely do need those goblins. So he is up a lot of damage and he's playing this very well. This might be the best player all day just by the way that he's playing. I'm going to go for the Archer Queen ability, force out the log. Okay, that was a good mortar on his end. Oh, he's running a very similar deck. I guess, you know, as you start pushing up the ranks early season, first day of the season, it makes sense that, you know, someone that is pushed up quite quickly is also running a top tier deck. I hope that the mortar splashes onto the goblins near the tower Yes, let's go. That's nice. That's juicy damage. Because now we don't have to respond to the goblins either. Generally, when you're playing in a miner versus miner matchup, you want to cycle an Ice Spirit on top of your opponent's miner and then catch the miner that way. Okay, I guess I can go for like a Valkyrie here aggressively and then play an Archer Queen because it's going to be harder for him to stop this without the Phoenix and cycle. If he goes in for a Mighty Miner, I can disrupt that with a log, so then hopefully the Valkyrie stays alive slightly longer. And then we can go in for Skeletons to go and pull back his Phoenix, so then it doesn't do as much damage as he's hoping. And the Phoenix should just die. It's literally going to die to 1 Elixir Skeletons. If you guys haven't done this before, very nice to do that with Ice Spirit or Skeletons for a juicy positive Elixir trade. I'm going to go for an Ice Spirit here to fully finish off the miner. We're going to pre-log the goblins that will inevitably come down. Making that prediction is very fulfilling if you guys can do that correctly. Now we're going to poison on the mortar to eliminate that a bit faster, so then he doesn't have that on the map, stopping me from going in for a mortar on his side and focusing on his tower. I can go in for Skeletons here in the back just because I expect him to go in for a miner. And if he doesn't decide to do that, it would be weird. I mean, he should be going in for miners here. I'm going to go for a Musketeer. I guess I can go for an Archer Queen. Notice how the Mighty Miner just takes forever to like get to our side of the map, so it gives us a ton of time to apply aggression. I'm able to go in for a Valkyrie and Ice Spirit and then get Skeletons down, so the Mighty Miner locks onto that. Definitely don't want our Archer Queen to get logged, but it will probably happen. It's going to happen, right? She's going to die, but she's the queen. Oh my gosh, she doesn't go easily. She leaves 2 birthday presents on the tower with 2 tower hits. The miner's on my tower, but it's something that's inconsequential. I can kind of just ignore it. I'm going to go in for Skeletons here. And one of the best answers to Mortar is either your Musketeer or Archer Queen, depending on what version of the deck that you're running. As you guys can see, he dropped his Musketeer. That was the correct play. As I said, he was a good player. He knows what's good and he knows what's bad. He's not going to do the bad strategies. Probably going to try to escort either his Phoenix or his Mighty Miner towards the tower. So this is going to be a little bit scary for me. We can go for an Ice Spirit. If you guys didn't know, the Phoenix does not one-shot the Ice Spirit. So the Ice Spirit will be able to tank regardless. I'm going to eat the Phoenix damage. I'm going to Miner inside corner again. I'm going to Ice Spirit on top of the Musketeer to minimize the amount of damage you can get. I will eat the rest of the damage. I will poison. And I think that I'm okay here. I don't believe that the mortar takes me out. I'm pretty sure I can just log and win the game. Unless, you know, this tower damage thing is a lot different. Nah, we win. Pretty cool stuff, beating another talented Miner Poison player when we're running Miner Poison. And if you play better than your opponent with this deck, you're almost certainly gonna win. Mohamed Light outplayed all the other pro players and finished #1 in the world with this deck. Let's go. It is time to use Mohamed Light, the #1 player in the world's favorite deck from last season. So this is the deck that he used as his very last game to secure the #1 in the world finish. We're going to go for an Ice Spirit, and the Miner is going to come up clutch as well. I love going for Ice Spirit plus Miner because the Ice Spirit will tank for your Miner, so it gives you slightly more damage. So this guy is going to have Skeleton King. Usually when you see Skeleton King, it's either a graveyard deck, potentially something with beatdown, whether it's a golem, or maybe something really weird that we haven't played against before with the Skeleton King and Skeleton Army. So I'm going to go in, apply dual lane pressure. I want to go in for the Mighty Miner with the Musketeer ideally. And then I will go and click the bomb because I want to. No, I'm not going to because I know that it would go right into goblins. And I don't think that's necessarily worth it. I'm just going to eat everything. Then I'm going to go for an Ice Spirit. Make sure that the Inferno Dragon is going to get destroyed by that and the tower. And then we can Miner on top of the Bowler. So if he decides to go for a funky freeze or something, we're able to make sure that the Inferno Dragon doesn't lock onto our tower and we counter the Bowler. Very good start for us. Usually, when your opponent has the potential of going for a freeze with an Inferno Dragon deck, it's just not worth risking it. It's always a bad trade if, you know, they lock onto that and miss up their freeze. So maybe we can go in for goblins here pretty aggressively and make a good stance. If I decide to go goblins right now, I know that my opponent's elixir is definitely low, and all of the costs of his cards are like 5 elixir or more. So we're going to bait out one of his very efficient answers with the Goblin Gang, and he won't have that in cycle for a while now. So maybe I can go for a Miner Ice Spirit, bait out the Bowler, and then rush Mighty Miner on the other side. Yep, that's exactly what I wanted. Because now, without having the Bowler in cycle and without Goblin Gang, how is he going to stop that? He's going to have to freeze. You're literally going to have to freeze on a Mighty Miner. Oh, never mind. You're going to Tornado, and then you're going to freeze? I don't know what you're going to do. This is awful for you. Yeah, I knew that was going to happen because I adjusted to his card cycle. I memorized what he had. And this is why, if, you know, you're the #1 player in the world and you're smarter than me, you can put your opponent in misery every single time because your elixir is going to be very, very low and your opponent's elixir is low, but their cards are going to be more expensive. And when they have expensive cards and not enough elixir to afford it, then they're going to be screwed and there's nothing they can really do. And that's what Mohamed Light does, and that's why all the top players are running fast cycle decks so they never get put in that type of compromising position. So we're going to go in for a Mighty Miner deck here as well, just to be able to, or Mighty Miner ability, just to be able to pull the Inferno Dragon a little bit. Then I'm going to Musketeer. And the good thing about Musketeer is if you're playing against like Lumberjack Balloon Freeze, or I guess a Graveyard deck like this guy, you're always able to make sure that you're able to stack up Musketeers instead of just, you know, only having one Archer Queen. Having one Archer Queen puts you in pretty bad positions at times, where, you know, you can't stack up multiple anti-air answers against Lumberjack Balloon Freeze. But if you can stack multiple Musketeers because you're not allowed to get multiple champions on the map, it's a nice compromise where you might not have the overpowered ability, but you're going to have the ability to stack up so much stuff that will be able to damage down your opponent that it works out well in the end. I'm going to go in for another Musketeer because it's going to be able to kill everything, and then I can Ice Spirit. The Skeleton King also does not one-shot the Ice Spirit, if you guys did not know. So the Ice Spirit is extremely good against Skeleton King because the Skeleton King will shoot the Ice Spirit will stay alive, and then you'll just get enough value from that. So we're just going to poison here, and then I think I can cycle back to a log or something and walk away the win. Or maybe the Ice Spirit jumps out of the tower. Yeah, the Ice Spirit does. GG. He went for a Graveyard, and then because he had no elixir left over, that Ice Spirit rolled him right over. And winning that one bumps us to Master 1, letting us collect the new emote from the season, which in my opinion is one of the best seasonal emotes they've had in a long time. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more daily videos, and have an incredible rest of your day.